The trouble with the Trinity. The Trinity doctrine is typically summarized as the claim that there are three fully divine persons in one God. Isn't that easy enough? But this talk of divine persons is unclear, and however we parse it, we run up against Scripture. When some talk about three persons in the Trinity, they mean three selves, three conscious, living, acting beings, each one a he, not an it, and each one fully divine. The whole Trinity then would be a they, a group of selves, somewhat like a family or a circle of friends, but in this circle each one individually has all the divine attributes. But that just is to say that there are three gods. Adios monotheism. And yet Trinitarians tell us that their theology is supposed to be a kind of monotheism. Some urge that these three divine selves perfectly cooperate. But cooperation, even perfect cooperation, doesn't magically turn three gods into one god. That would just be a harmonious, conflict-free polytheism. Monotheism still eludes us. Other Trinitarians urge instead that these so-called persons in the Trinity are really something more like personalities or maybe ways God lives. They say they're not, quote, persons in the modern sense, end quote. So that the triune God really is one self, one he, not a they or an it. But this contradicts the Bible where Jesus is one self and the Father is another. When Jesus prays to God, there are two selves there, one praying, another receiving prayer. We can't say that the Father and Son have but one self between them. They talk to each other and cooperate in our salvation as two wonderful selves. Three gods or one God pretending to have an interpersonal relationship with himself, neither of these fits the Bible. Others simply shrug, saying the Trinity is mysterious. But this is simply an acknowledgement that they don't know what to think about it, and that they are content that you should remain equally confused. There's the trouble with the Trinity. As soon as we try to interpret the traditional language, we contradict Scripture, and if we don't interpret the language, we're simply left wandering in the dark. But this is trouble a Christian can dispense with by replacing extra-biblical Trinity speculations with a trio that the Bible does teach. One God, the Father, one man, Jesus the Messiah, and one holy power, God's Spirit, given by the one God and his raised and exalted Son to believers everywhere. These are what Christians have actually experienced from the book of Acts up to the present day. Not a trinity of divine persons, but rather God, his Son, and his Spirit.